The next speaker is the Honorable Reddy.
Honorable Speaker, members of the House, and all South Africans watching across the country, what I'm about to share with you today is explosive. This is information that has been deliberately kept from you, sealed behind court orders, spun by the media, and silenced in elite boardrooms. It's time the truth is told. To remain silent is to betray not only ourselves, but our children and the generations that follow. The topic before us, as House Chair, is the influence of global white supremacist movements on white nationalism in South Africa. And this is not just a theory, it is our lived reality. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party welcomes this debate because the influence of global white supremacy is not abstract. It's direct, it's deliberate, and it's devastating. Let us be clear. White supremacist forces have never left Africa. They've changed strategy. Today, they operate through global corporations, foreign embassies, media ownership, NGOs, and crucially, local proxies in politics. And the face of their local project, it began with none other than the DA. Heavily funded by global donors and corporate elites, the DA was promoted as a new non-racial alternative. But after years of media coverage and billion-rand campaigns, it hit a ceiling, 17%. That's when global white capital shifted its strategy. Don't fight the ANC, infiltrate it. They didn't need a revolution. They needed a representative. And so they found one in Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's ask the questions no one in this house dares to ask. How did Mr. Ramaphosa become a billionaire? Not because he invented something like Elon Musk, not because he built an empire from the ground up, but because white monopoly capital chose him, they sponsored him, and they enriched him. So he could become their inside man. Through his company, Shanduka Group, Ramaphosa acquired massive stakes in Lonmin, where he was on the board during the Massacana massacre, where 34 miners were killed. MTN, Standard Bank, McDonald's South Africa, Coca-Cola, Bidvest, and many more. Today, he is one of Africa's richest men. But whose money made him rich? Not yours, not mine. It's foreign capital. It's mining conglomerates. It's white-owned multinationals. And when the time came to secure the ANC presidency, these same forces bankrolled the CR7 campaign, pouring hundreds of millions of rands into his rise. And what did Ramaphosa do when South Africans asked, who funded you? He ran to court to seal the records. Why? Because he didn't want the nation to see that his presidency was bought and paid for by the very forces we are debating today, white supremacist global capital. And those who arranged this funding, they were rewarded. They sit among us as cabinet ministers, contracts, and access to the state. This wasn't democracy, it was a transaction. Our freedom was long sold to the highest bidder. That's how global white supremacist movements now control South Africa's political direction, by inserting their interests directly into our government, using figures who look like us, but who do not serve us. Honorable House Chairperson, let's come back to the topic. The influence of global white supremacist movements on white nationalism in South Africa. Today, white nationalism no longer marches with flags. It wears suits, it owns companies, it writes editorials, and it ensures that land remains unreturned, banks remain untransformed, and Black poverty remains the status quo. Let us look at how they attack those who dare to defy them. Siyabonga Gama made Transnet financially independent, growing profits from 27 billion rands to 32 billion rands. This is for the matric minister yesterday who attacked Siyabonga Gama, not knowing these facts. He has a double master's, by the way. Siyabonga Gama reduced over-dependence on American-made locomotives and brought China to supply 50% of the locomotives instead of 100% reliance on American diesel locomotives. This enraged global capital in New York and Washington. Look at Brian Molefe. He ended load shedding in this country, a fact that none of us can deny. During his time at Eskom, Lucky Montana, he revolutionized rail infrastructure at Prasa, prioritizing local suppliers and black contractors. But what happened to them? They were vilified, not because they failed, but because they succeeded without serving white capital. That is how white supremacy operates. It rewards obedience and punishes independence. Today, South Africa is in darkness, literally. We are sitting with blackouts, not because we lack coal or skills, but because those who fixed Eskom were removed and energy was handed over to private interests. Today, Transnet not only moves 150 million tons of rail or on rail, while under Gama, it moved 230 million tons. They grounded the Chinese locomotives and told lies about Gama and China. Today, passenger rail carries only 20% of what it carried under Montana in 2015. All our gains have been reversed. This is white nationalist economics. Sabotage the public, sell them a private solution. Now let's speak about water. Millions of South Africans queue for water tankers while big business bottling plants continue operating uninterrupted. In places like eThekwini, people have been without water for months because the infrastructure has collapsed and no one in power cares enough to fix it. That is white supremacy in action, where basic human needs are commodified and the poor are abandoned. And who do they blame? They blame President Jacob Zuma, RET, and MK. But let me tell South Africa, you are not jobless because of President Zuma. You are not in darkness because of MK. You are not thirsty because of Gama, Molefe, or Montana. You are suffering because white capital has captured your government. The so-called GNU is not about unity. It is about protecting the economic status quo. It's about keeping black people poor while white wealth is preserved, untouched, and expanding. That is why they fear MK, because we will not kneel, we will not beg, we will not be bought, we will not surrender, and we thrive on independent thought. MK is the voice of the forgotten, the angry, and the betrayed. And South Africans are seeing it all over the country through by-election results, as you can see. We say, number one, unseal the CR7 records. Let the people know who owns this president. The people that own this president are white supremacists, most of them foreigners. Two, investigate foreign influence in our elections and governance. Tell us how the DA grew from 17% to 22% in the last election. Tell us how the DA could predict in 2019 that it could become a 22% party when only 8% of the country supports the DA. Three, implement radical economic transformation without apology. And four, return the land to the original owners. Transform the economy, decolonize the state. Let me end with this, House Chair. With the prophetic words of a great liberator, Chris Hani. He said, what I fear most is that the liberators will emerge as elitists, using the resources of this country to live in palaces while the poor remain in shacks. That day is here, but a new day is coming. The MK party is not just a party. We are a people's uprising inside parliament and beyond. The MK is a revolution. The MK is the people. Amandla aluta continua. Thank you.
The next speaker is the Honorable Smith.
Thank you, House Chair. Fellow South Africans, I stand before you today to reflect on the crossroads at which our nation stands, between the lingering shadows of exclusionary ideologies and the promise of a truly inclusive liberal democracy. We must begin by addressing an uncomfortable yet necessary truth: the continued presence and influence of white nationalism in our country. Though apartheid was formally dismantled 3 decades ago, its ideology still haunts our society today. Nationalism is an ideology rooted in exclusion. It insists on racial superiority, cultural purity, and political dominance. It falsely claims that the right of one must come at the expense of others. This toxic belief system has no place in South Africa today. It undermines the very foundation of our constitutional democracy, of human dignity, equality, and freedom. It sees diversity as a threat, not a strength. It fuels division and stokes fear. It erodes trust in democratic institutions, portraying progress as a zero-sum game. In stark contrast are the principles of liberalism, values that have consistently shaped the vision and direction of my party, the DA. The DA stands firmly on the pillars of non-racialism, individual freedom, and the rule of law, a market-based economy, and a capable state that serves all its citizens equally. These are not abstract principles. They are the foundations of a society committed to redress, where past injustices are acknowledged and addressed, not through division, but through inclusion and empowerment. They underpin a vision of sustainable economic growth and meaningful job creation, ensuring that every individual, regardless of race or background, has the opportunity to prosper. Nationalism is fundamentally about identity over ideas. It fixates on race and culture as the sole determinants of belonging. Liberalism, on the other hand, is about ideas over identity. It is rooted in the belief that people are individuals first, not representatives of racial categories. The DA believes that government should not classify people by race, but should instead focus on eradicating the material and systematic barriers to opportunities that were built by centuries of discrimination. While acknowledging the realities of our past, the DA refuses to replicate the logic of racialism in crafting our future. We insist that empowerment should be based on need, not race, a principle that seeks to unite, not divide. Where nationalism fosters nostalgia for racial hierarchy, liberalism promotes a vision of shared prosperity. The DA believes in a responsible market economy, an economy that harnesses the innovation of the private sector while ensuring that government plays a central role in education, healthcare, and welfare. This is how we address inequality, not by handouts, but by building a society of self-reliant individuals empowered to make their own choices. The DA's liberalism is not laissez-faire. It is compassionate, pragmatic, and evidence-based. It supports broadening access to quality education, fixing broken municipalities, tackling crime and corruption, and ensuring reliable service delivery for all. Nowhere is the contrast between these two ideologies more visible than in their vision for the future for South Africa. Nationalism sees the future as a continuation of the past, a rigid representation of an exclusive identity. Liberalism, on the other hand, sees the future as a canvas of endless possibility. A united South Africa where race is neither a curse nor a privilege, where merit and compassion go hand in hand, and where government works for the people, not the other way around. The DA envisions a country where no child is condemned to poverty because of the circumstances of their birth. A country where we fix the education system so that all children can read for meaning by grade 4. Where crime is no longer rampant because policing is decentralized and effective. Where infrastructure is reliable, clean water flows in every home, and internet access is no longer a luxury. A South Africa where we grow the economy, lower unemployment, and invite investment with confidence and competence. And let me be clear, liberalism is not empathy. It is not neutrality in the face of injustice. The DA's commitment to liberalism is its boldest form of economic redress. It says we will not give up on building a society where freedom is a reality for all. It means fighting for the poor, uplifting the marginalized, and speaking out when institutions fail. We must also reject this false narrative that liberalism is foreign to Africa. It is not. The hunger for dignity, choice, and opportunity is as African as you can get. Liberalism is the pathway to true freedom. Jole ma Afrika borwa, rikagare ganaku ya go bouta. Tsela ya karoganyo goba tsela ya kotsi. Geta ka maikemisetso goba pono ya go amogela. Dipheto tsa maano goba goba dipheto tsa tshepo. Democratic Alliance e kgetlhile tsela ya yona. Go le emela ka tsela ya maleba. Go direla bona bokamoso jo bo bolokegilego, jo bo bulegilego, le jo bo lokilego go bja Afrika Borwa. DA e mema marafi kamuka ya lefase. Kudu ya dudi banaga ya Afrika Borwa, risa gete goya kamala. Bananyane le bagolo, bashwa kamuka banaga a reshwareshaneng tsela mogo. In conclusion, we must resist the temptation to long for the past and retreat into our corners of comfort. Let's instead confront nationalism with the moral clarity of liberalism. Let's build bridges, not walls. Let's recognize the dignity in each other's dreams. Let's stand as one South Africa that truly belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity, strengthened by our differences, and inspired by our common destiny. Thank you, Kaleboch.